Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a Mortal Realms painting video. This time we are painting that Knight of Shrouds. But as always, if you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment down below. It's always greatly appreciated and I'm always very thankful for it. Now, I suppose we should just jump into the painting of this ethereal steed and his rider. So, starting off with the steed itself, I paint this in sub-assemblies. So I've literally spray painted the entire model with a white primer from B&M Bargains. It's dirt cheap. You don't have to pay for Corax White from good old GW. And I'm layering over Nighthaunt Gloom. This will take a couple of layers to get it looking a lot thicker and a lot darker, without too much of the white showing through. And then I dry brushed over the Leo's grey white paint. Very much like Corax White, it looks very similar, works exactly the same way. It's just in a bottle instead of a pot, so you do need a little bit of a palette and you just squeeze a bit out and away you go, have fun with it. But it's a very nice paint, as is majority of paints from the Vallejo's range. And then I'm layering over Wraith Bone over those exposed bone areas like the rib cage and stuff like that for the horse. Before I move on to any other parts though, if you find that you've dry brushed a bit too heavily on the main horse with your white paint or Corax White or anything like that, literally go over with it, not with one layer of Nighthaunt Gloom, and it will look fine. It looks a lot better. It takes away that whiteness from it, but it leaves a little tiny bit of it there to actually have a bit of an effect. And then I'll go and move on to the actual body, so a different part of a sub-assembly. This is the rider himself, and I'm using Griff Charger Grey, which is a contrast paint. So it applies, looks very thin when you apply it, but it works fantastic and it looks really nice when it's done. And then layering over the top part of the Knight of Shrouds himself, I'm using Blood Angels Red, which is of course my favourite contrast paint from the looks of it, because I use it quite a bit on the Nighthaunt models, and layer over it a couple of times. Going over it once leaves it quite bright and vibrant, but if you lay it over 2 to 3 times, it'll go a lot darker, it looks a lot grimier, and it gives it a bit more of a kind of a natural kind of look. And then overall that Wraith Bone area, all I'm doing is I'm using Skeleton Horde, another contrast paint, another really good one. It just works very much like Seraphim Sepia in all honesty. So you can use Seraphim Sepia if you wish to, and it would have pretty much exactly the same effect that the Skeleton Horde is having. And then because you're going to be painting that sword metallic, I wanted to layer it over with Mechanica Standard Grey, because metal paints apply far easier to darker paint colours, whether that's Mechanica Standard Grey or Bad and Black or anything like that. So I literally over all the metallic areas I just use Mechanica Standard Grey to act as a perfect base coat. And then I'm layering over good old Ironbreaker over the areas that I want to be silver. So the blade of a sword and the chainmail and the helm and stuff like that as well that the Knight of Shrouds is wearing, and it will work very well. And then moving on to the hilt, what I wanted to do is I wanted it to not be too bright, so I didn't use gold, I used Hash Hut Copper. Works very well, so if you use a copper colour it looks very kind of darker, a little bit silvery over the gold, and not too bright, and it works very well with the effects that you can add to it later on. So for instance, things like Nuln Oil, which works very well. I'm applying it over the Retributor armour that I used for the metal parts of the sheath of the sword and everything like that as well, and then over his helm, over the metal plate on the steed's head, and of course down the blade of a sword and the hilt itself. And then you got to paint that sheath, because leaving it grey is going to look a bit dull and a bit boring, or if you're leaving it white. So I used good old Rhinox hide. Works very, very well. It's a dark brown, and yeah, not much more you can say about it. If you want to highlight it, you use a bit of dryad bark to give it a bit of a highlight along certain edges, but otherwise you can just leave it with one colour if you wish. Talking of dryad bark, for things like the reins on the steed, I use dryad bark on those, and I also use deepkin flesh for the mottled flesh of his arms, and it works fairly well, as it does with pretty much all the Nighthaunts. And that is it. So fairly simple, fairly easy. You shouldn't have an issue with painting him. With models like this, because they are a hero, it could be a bit daunting at times, so don't worry about it too much. Take your time with it, paint it how you feel it should be painted. You don't have to follow what it says in magazines or in battle tomes or anything like that, or even on the painting guides from GW. Paint it how you want it to look, how you think it's going to fit in with the rest of your Nighthaunt army. And that's it pretty much. Base it how you want to as well. He is a leader, a hero unit for the Nighthaunt army, so if you want to do something special with a base, do something special with a base, but it is entirely up to yourself. I haven't. All I've done is I've used some Vallejo ground texture, painted over it with wildwood contrast paint, which means you don't have to really do any dry brushing or anything like that, or highlighting any bits and pieces. And I've stuck some tufts of grass down as well to make it look like it's on a muddy battlefield, ready to charge into the fray. That's it, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you've enjoyed this way that I painted the model. Let me know how you've painted it in the comments down below. It's always good to hear other people, or if you want to, send me a link to your photos on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, or tag me in it. It's fine. It's all good. I don't mind. Links are in the description down below for any bits and pieces as well, including affiliate links if you want to buy paints or models from Element Games or Goblin Gaming. Either one. They're both really, really cool guys, sets of guys, and they get the models out to you. And yeah, you can earn yourself some reward points on both websites as well, which will help you save some money later on. And that's it, in all honesty. So, right, I'm going to go. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon for some more painting and some more Mortal Realms magazine. Bye bye now.